those quizzes. And let's get our notes out. We just have a tiny bit to finish because our test is just 2-1 to 2-5. So we just have to finish up part 7 on page 19. And then that will be it for the notes for now. Hang on to the notes because after our test we'll start on the next section. But right now, the only thing we still have in our notes, so the only new stuff, is page 19, number 7. And actually, this is a really easy section because you remember yesterday some of the problems you were doing where I just gave you a polynomial and you had to sketch it, but it wasn't factored. And so it didn't factor by grouping, so you had to guess numbers and do the division. Remember all that? Yeah. Well, this is kind of the same thing, except you don't have to guess. They're telling you in problem number 1, or yeah, problem A, 7A, they're telling you that 1 is a 0 of this thing. So what that means is, if you were going to sketch it, there would be a dot at 1. Your job is to find the other 2. Well, how did you do that before? Remember you guessed? And then after you guessed, how did you know if you had a root or not? You did the division, and you got a 0. And then what did you do? You took that leftover part and factored it. Do you remember that? So that's exactly what we're going to do here. You don't have to guess, though. They're giving you one of the answers. So all you have to do is divide it out. So we're going to divide it out. I know this is going to be a 0 because they're telling me this is one of the answers. I am interested in what happens right here. This is where my other 2 answers are going to come from. So let's see when we get there. See how I got 0? See how that happened? But I don't care. I knew that was going to happen. What I care about is this right here. What is that? 3x, not cubed, 3x squared. Remember, it drops down a power. When you do the division, you've divided 1x out. So you have only 2 left. So this is 3x squared plus 7x plus 2. Now factor it. And that's going to give you your other 2 zeros. How does that factor? Can you do that? Good, Anthony. If you FOIL this back out, that's going to be 6x and 1x. That's going to give you the 7. So what are my other 2 zeros? Or in vocabulary we've been using, what are the other 2 dots going to be on our number line?
Negative 1/3 and negative 2.
Negative 1/3 and negative 2. Your job was to find the other zeros. They told you one of them was 1, so you simply divided it out and took what was left and factored it. And that's how you get the other 2. That's easy. So let's look at the next one. 8 is a 0 of this. So we are simply going to divide 8 into 1, negative 4, negative 44, and 96. You with me? So here we go. Bring the 1 straight down. You are not surprised by that. If I tell you that 8 is a 0, then you will get 0 when you divide in 8. What do I care about here? I knew that was gonna happen. What do I care about? X squared plus 4x minus 12. X plus 6 minus 2, Anthony the factorer says, is he right?
Yep.
Which means the other zeros are at -6 and 2. And that was your job. It says find the others. -6 and 2. So there's one more. 1, 4, -11, -30. Those are the numbers in the problem. So out here, what am I dividing out? 3? I've divided it out. I got the 0. I knew I would get a 0. They tell me 3 is a 0. X squared plus 7x plus 10 is what's left. So I can factor that. X plus 5, x plus 2, perfect. So my other two zeros are -5 and -2. Beautiful. That is it for the notes. Don't lose them because we gotta continue the next unit on. So now, we're gonna get out our practice test, but first, we have one more quiz in our future. So here is a practice quiz.
Oh, that's weird.
I have a question for you. What, do you do like shoots outside of the theater? Like, do you shoot for exams? Do you ever?
All
I
right.
did before.
What gym do you shoot?
No, I need to. I will after school.
Actually, did you ever figure out what gym? Did you ever figure out that gym I was talking about? I grew up in
Do you know what it looks like?
Yeah, it's like, it's got like gymnastics stuff all around it, and it's got like 2 mats.
Is it gymnastics on the Is it? Because it might be. He said it's in Zion.
So now what we are going to do is go through this practice quiz. Now, folks, it is a long time before I see you again, unfortunately. Because I don't see you tomorrow. I don't think I see you Monday.
They want like space.
Oh wait, yeah, we have a.
Like my girlfriend should forget.
I think
It's day 4 on Monday.
I think
So we see you. No?
No, we don't.
Oh, yes.
okay. I don't know. Anyhow, I think it's a long time before I see you. So don't set this aside and forget about it. We're going to go through it now, but please take a look at it again before we have class so that it refreshes in your brain because we have a quiz next time we're together, okay? All right, so here we go. Find the vertex axis of symmetry and direction of opening. Kids, you have already taken a quiz over this. You know how to find the vertex axis of symmetry and direction of opening. First of all, the direction of opening is up. Please don't miss that. You can look at the equation. It's either positive or negative out here in front, up or down. That's it. Now, you have a formula that will help you find the axis of symmetry very quickly. our formula for the axis of symmetry is what? Negative b over 2a. In this problem, negative b would be positive 8, and 2a would be 4. So your axis of symmetry is x equals 2. Right? Now that automatically means that your vertex is 2, comma, something. So we'll go back to the problem and plug in 2. So remember, you square first. So 2 squared is 4, times 2 is 8, minus 16, I'm putting in 2, plus 3. So that would be negative 5. And you got that question right. Okay? Now, the next one we haven't spent much time with, so we need to go back in our memory banks, dig out our notes if necessary. There are 2 kinds of variation. See the word varies in there? There's 2 kinds of variation that you're responsible for. There are actually more than 2 kinds, but we're going to focus on the big 2, and that is direct and inverse. There are 2 basic formulas that you got to know. Y equals kx and y equals k over x. Anybody remember which is which? Which is direct and which is inverse?
Inverse is k over x.
This is inverse and this is direct. So so that's in my memory bank. That's up here. So when I read the problem and it says volume varies inversely, this is going to be my setup. And instead of y's and x's, I'm going to use v's and p's. Volume varies inversely as pressure. So V equals K over P. So that's the framework of the problem. In sentence 1, I got it. Now, it says when the pressure is 10, the volume is 60. So here is the setup for our problem. They tell me V is 60 when P is 10. So what is that going to allow me to do? I'm going to figure out what K is, right? K is going to be 600. So now I know K is 600. So this isn't a K anymore. This is a 600 now. So V equals 600 over P. All right. Find the volume when the pressure is 16. Wouldn't that just be 600 over 16? Which of course reduces, so we'll reduce it. But that's it. I mean, it's that easy. So 2 goes into both of those. 2 goes into both of them again. And 2 goes into both of them again. I think I'm finally done. I think I got 75 over 2. So what do you need to know coming into the problem? You need to know these 2 setups. So you're either going to do K times X, or you're going to do K divided by X, K over X. If it's direct, use that format. If it's inverse, you use that format. All right, and then number 3, well, this is what you just did. Hopefully all the papers are perfect. Where would you put your dots? -1, +3, X's do we have all together? 5. 5 is odd. Odd looks like this, except it's negative. So instead of going down to up, we're going to go up to down. So we start up here. Now as soon as I hit a dot, my B little eyes zoom in on the factor that that dot came from. That dot came from here. It doesn't bounce, it goes straight through. That dot came from here. That's a bounce. That dot came from here. There we go. It is really important that you don't just go in the order here. You must find the factor that gave you the dot.
So you bounce when it's just the exponent
Squared.
squared. And then for the cubed, it would be like bouncing.
Then you go through them all. You just go through them all. All right, so we put that away and get out our practice test. Okay. Now we are finding we're finding out if things are polynomials or not. Okay, so everybody is on practice test number 1. If it's a yes, you don't have to do anything, but if it's a no, you have to explain why not. So let's look at 1A. Is that a polynomial? Yes. Yes. What about 1B? No, because there is an x in the denominator, and you are not allowed to have x's in the denominator. So you will write something like x in denominator, right? You're going to write out the words. How about C? No. X under a radical. X under a radical, not allowed, right? How about D? Yes. Yes, it's fine. And when it's a yes, you just write yes, and that's good. Move on. How about E?
No.
Nope. Negative exponent. Negative exponent. So in that section, we covered all 4 of our rules except one. Which is the rule we didn't run into? No fractional exponents. So we're going to make sure that we understand we can't have fractional exponents either. Okay, number 2. Write the equation of the linear function where f of 2 is 3 and f of 4 is 9. Now, gang, linear function, line, mx plus b, m, gotta have the slope, gotta have a slope. So we recognize that we have 2 ordered pairs here. And I would recommend that you take the 5 seconds it takes to write those points down. Because some of you tried to do the problem on the quiz from the function notation. It can be done, but you messed it up. So write the points down so that you can physically see your x's and your y's. So your slope, you know, is y minus y over x minus x.
3.
That's 6 over 2, which is 3. Right? Then I'm gonna pick a point. I always pick the first one, so I'm gonna be radically different today and pick the second one.
Whoa.
Because it doesn't matter. Y minus 9 equals slope times x minus 4. Y minus 9 equals 3x minus 12. Y equals 3x minus 3. What would happen if you picked the first point? Same thing. This part would look a little different, but your answer would be the same. Number or letter B. Write the quadratic function with a vertex here and containing this point. Now, quadratic. Does that mean y equals mx plus b? No. Quadratic means parabola, squared, right? So I want you to think about your quadratic, your vertex form, your parabola form of an equation. What do you know about it if this is the vertex? This means you've gone right 1 and down 2. So what would that equation look like? Bingo, Sam. Perfect. Notice I'm doing this problem entirely differently because it's a parabola, not a line. So this is what a parabola equation looks like. Now there's something missing. That number right there is missing. So I can find that number by taking the extra random point they gave me and putting it in for x and y. So 2 equals n times 3 minus 1 squared minus 2. PEMDAS, parentheses. What's 3 minus 1? 2 squared is 4. So this is 4n. Add 2. Divide. So a lot of times we get weird fractions like 5/8 or something. Well, we got 1 this time. So that just means that that is your answer. And you know I've been doing this for centuries. I cannot tell you how many kids take this problem right here and they see 2 points and so they find the slope. No. When do we find the slope? When we're doing a line. Lines have slope. If it says quadratic, you want to build your squared from the vertex. Okay. Number 3, change to vertex form. So this in the box right here, that is vertex form. The form that shows you the vertex is the vertex form. So they're now saying to you, rewrite this equation in vertex form. So what does that mean I'm going to have to do? What process? Completing the square. We're going to complete the square. Okay? Now, remember that you cannot complete the square with a number here. So we got to get rid of that number. So we will simply divide everything by 2. So we have y over 2, which is not going to cause me any alarm. That's fine. X squared plus 8x minus 2. Now we also remember that when we complete the square, the whole process involves adding something, right? Adding a new number. So that has to be out of the way. So we'll move that 2 over here. So that now we have a space to add in our new number. So now we have to figure out what that new number is. Half of
16.
Half of 8 is 4, squared is 16. So we're going to add 16 to both sides. Right? Now, this should always be a perfect square. Remember, that's your goal right here. So you got to have that square. Right there it is. What's it going to be? X plus 4. And this is y over 2 plus 18 when I combine those. Now that's your goal right there. So let's make a couple changes here. We'll move the 18 to the other side, right? And then we will times by 2. But when we times by 2, we don't touch the 4. The 2 just comes out in front. So it's going to be y equals 2 x plus 4 squared minus 36. Because when you times by 2, you times the parentheses and the number. And that is the answer. Because what did the directions say? Put it into vertex form. Quit watching the clock. We have so much time today. Okay.
Are you serious?
All right, number 4. Find the vertex axis symmetry and direction of opening. I think this was on the practice quiz we just did. So here we go. We have one more opportunity to practice for our quiz on whenever. So our vertex axis of symmetry and direction of opening. We know it opens up. We're not going to ever miss that. Right? Now, axis of symmetry, x equals negative b over 2a. Did you get x equals negative 2?
Yes.
Which means your vertex is negative 2.
Yes.
Now we'll plug it in. What's negative 2 squared? 4. Minus 8. Minus 3. Sam is saying negative 7, is he right? Page 1, done. Oh, but there's another one. Y equals 3x squared minus 8. Find the vertex, axis of symmetry, and direction of opening. Here we go. Vertex, axis of symmetry, direction of opening. Opens up. This is, I'm trying to trick you. See? I'm mean. I'm trying to trick you. Didn't trick you though, because you're too smart. What's b in this problem? 0. So negative b over 2a is going to be 0. And that means your vertex is 0, negative 8.
Direction of opening is sideways.
Stop it. Okay. Number 5. Oh, this is good practice for our quiz too. Temperature varies. Okay, I see that word varies. I immediately think kx or k over x. Now let's see, temperature varies directly. So that's this one. Temperature varies directly as volume. So instead of y equals kx, it'll be T equals kV. The temperature is 10 when the volume is 28. So K equals 5/14. Now, I'm in high school, so I'm not scared by that. 5/14 is a fine fraction. Find the temperature when the volume is 50. So now you know what K is. K is 5/14. K is 5/14. So T equals 5/14 V. I want to know what T is when the volume is 50. How do I multiply fractions? Straight across. Straight across. So I have 5/14 times 50 over 1. So I can either multiply and get 250 over 14, which will reduce, or some of you might like to take a 2 out before you start. Doesn't matter. Either way, you get 125 over 7. Because both of these are divisible by 2.
You're welcome.
Okay? All right, now consider this thing. List the possible rational roots, the PRRs. Who can remember how we do that from the other day? Pat?
We take the factors of the constant and divide them by the factors of the coefficient.
Exactly. So in other words, we take the factors of the last and divide it by the factors of the first. Just like the Bible, the least shall be first, the last and then the first. So factors of -6 would be plus or minus 1, 2, 3, and 6 over factors of 1, which are just 1 and -1. You only have to write the plus or minus once. You don't need to keep writing plus or minus. It needs to be in there one time. So there are your PRRs. Everybody good? Okay. Find the factors. So this is our guessing part, right? But what numbers are we going to guess from? Right here, right? And you can use positives or negatives, but you're going to choose one of those and you're going to guess.
2.
2. You're all going to guess different things. And so you just pick one and guess. So someone said 2. So I'm going to put the 2 in the box. And do the division. Well, that's a winner. Now, sometimes it's going to work for you and sometimes it's not. So we consider it working when these cancel and leave me a 0. What would happen if I picked a different number and I didn't get 0? I try again. You just try again. And you just keep trying from this list only until you get 1. Well, we got 1. So what do I do now? I take this part right here, which is x squared plus 4x plus 3. Remember, The original problem was a cube. So after you've done a division, it now becomes a squared. It's one less. And what do you notice about that? That factors into x plus 3, x plus 1. And then what did someone say? Okay, now I want to pay attention to the directions. It says find the factors. These are factors. What's the other factor? Well, x minus 2. These are the factors. Then it says sketch it. Well, now I'm going to take the zeros, the actual dots, out of the factors. So where are the dots going to be? They're going to be at 2, at negative 3, and negative 1. Are any of them squared? No. So I'm going to start down, go through them all, and there's my sketch. Now, why did I start down? Because it's an x cubed, right? That's probably one of the hardest ones on the test. And you guys handled it beautifully. You okay?
Yeah.
All right. So now we've got a sketch. So this is good practice for our quiz too. Because you just quizzed over this. I'll hand those back and then we'll quiz again. So if you missed it the first time around, let's not miss it this time. It's already factored, so it's like an easier version of this one. It's already factored for you. So where are the dots? 1, negative 3, and 2. Maddie, how many X's we got? 5. That's odd, right? So it's going to look like this. So it's going to start down here. That's what odds do. That, however, came from this factor right here, which is squared. So that's going to bounce off and connect. That came from this one, which is also squared. So it's going to bounce off and connect. That one is not squared, so it goes straight through. Everybody good? I don't think this test is going to be that hard. Famous last words spoken by the teacher, I know. All right, here we go. It says factor and sketch. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint here. Did I say anything about PRRs? If I don't tell you to find the PRRs, then guessing isn't going to be necessary. This guy will factor by grouping. Now, if you want to go ahead and guess and do the division, that's fine. That will work. But if I don't guide you in that direction, then you can factor this one by grouping. And that's usually quicker. But again, if you would rather guess, that's fine. I'm going to factor by grouping. What can I take out of these? X squared. How about these? Negative 9. Leaving me with a positive x and a positive 4 because I pulled out the negative. careful, one more thing. What do you notice? X plus 3, x minus 3. Right? So I have my dots at -4, at -3, and 3. Agreed?
Agreed.
It's an x cubed. Nothing's bouncing. Through and through and through. Sam, is that bothering you, or you got that? You have a glazed look on your face.
I like this is like showing the face.
Okay. Hang in there, guys. You're almost done. You have almost survived the long math class. Now, this is the same thing, okay? Except, what is the very first thing I ask you for? The PRRs. Now, that means, gang, that you are not going to be able to group this. That's my clue to you, because I'm nice, that don't waste your time grouping. It's not going to work. All right, so what are the PRRs? You get points for this. What are the PRRs?
1 and -1.
Yeah, it's factors of 1 over 1. So you only have 2 numbers to guess, right? What are the 2 we have to guess? 1 and -1, right? So I don't know, which one you want to start with?
So
1? So I'm just guessing 1. So here we go. Oh, good guess.
You always put 1 below when you write down the PPRs.
Well, you always put down the factors of the leading coefficient, and the leading coefficient's 1. So if the leading coefficient were 2, I'd have to have 2 and 1 down there.
Like on the denominator.
Yeah, whatever the factors of the leading coefficient are. All right. So I'm looking for the roots. Well, one of them's 1. I got that one because of this, right? So I'm going to find the other 2 from this right here. All right, so what is that? X squared plus 3x. Okay, wait. X squared plus 3x plus 1. Is that factor? It does? How?
2 and 1. Wait, just put it down.
Bingo! Say that a little louder, Anthony. Yeah, it doesn't factor, folks. So if you have an x squared that doesn't factor, I guess we'll have to use the quadratic formula. So x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. I'm old. I do this zillions of times. I don't have to write it down, but if you want to write down A is 1, B is 3, C is 1. That way, when you have your formula, which, by the way, you can write that down too, so you can just plug in what you need. So what do I have? -3 plus or minus the square root of 5? Does that break down or reduce? Your job was to find all of the roots. One of them was 1. You guessed it. It gave you 0. The other two are right here. Now you can look at me and say, Ms. Ford, that's not fair. Yes, it is. We've talked about many times that if something doesn't factor, you can use the quadratic formula. Just what we have to do. All right, one more page. Write the equation for this curve. I did not label my points, but you can tell what they are. I should have labeled them though, sorry about that. Okay. Write the equation of this curve. Help me out here. How do I even start?
X plus 4.
So I start with my parentheses, so I know I'm going to have an x plus 4, an x plus 1, and an x minus 3. Now, be careful.
Last two squares.
You got a little bouncing going on here, right? See that right there?
Yeah.
That means I put a squared here. And that means there's a squared here. Now, what was that point doing in the problem? What am I going to do with that point? I'm going to plug that point in to find the missing number that's out in front. So I'll put 10 here and 2 in all the way across for all of the x's. So 2 plus 4, that's a 6. 2 plus 1 squared would be a 9. 2 minus 3 squared would be a 1. So all of that times together is 54n. So 10 over 54 is my n, which I should reduce, and I got 5/27. And I usually do get crazy fractions here, and it's not a big deal. And that goes in for your n, and you're done. How do we feel about that? You okay? All right, now we got a synthetic division problem, and I am so sneaky. Please, 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 anytime you're doing synthetic division, make sure that you have all of your powers accounted for. What do you notice here, kids?
No x cubed.
There's no x cubed. You are not going to get the right answer if you don't put a 0 in for that x cubed. You have to put a 0 in if you're missing a power. Count them down. 4, 3 is missing. Then 2, 1, 0. It's all good. But you got to have a 0 in there for that cube. And then out here, what do you put? Watch it. -1. -1. Remember, if you were graphing this, wouldn't the dot be at -1? And wherever the dot is, that's what's in the box. Okay, so here we go. Drop the 1 straight down. Now I did that kind of fast. Let me double check. Is that what you got? That's what I wanted to hear. Somebody matches? Okay, so you got two blanks to fill in. One is the quotient, and this, my friends, is the quotient, and one is the remainder, which is -12. So we got -12 as our remainder. So in the remainder blank, you can put -12. In the quotient blank, you have to put x cubed minus x squared minus 2x plus 10. You gotta put the letters back in when you write the quotient. And how did I know that would be x cubed? Because it's 1 less than the original. Okay. All right, so unfortunately, we have 2 more to go. We'll have to finish those next time. Don't forget we have a quiz next time.